Hi, and welcome to She's the Boss, the show that is all about female founders and women doing extraordinary things in business. And today's guest is one of those extraordinary women. Cindy Gallop is a feminist icon who loves to blow shit up, which is the whole reason that I clocked her in the first place. She's the co-founder and former chairperson of Bartle Bogle Hegarty, which is a massive advertising agency around the world. She's the founder of Make Love Not Porn, and in 2009, her TEDx talk about it was the most talked about TEDx talk of the year.
Actually, Jules, sorry, yeah. I should have said, I am going to correct you on that. It wasn't a TEDx talk, it was a TED talk.
Oh, sorry, TED talk.
Yep.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yep. Sorry.
And no, that's fine. And she's the founder of IfWeRanTheWorld. So welcome, Cindy. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thrilled to be here.
Okay, so I've just done a rundown of all the amazing things you've done. Can you tell me, what would you describe what you're doing now and also why you're doing it?
Sure. I'm the founder and CEO of Make Love Not Porn. We are pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. And I'm doing it because our mission is to end rape culture. And Make Love Not Porn helps end rape culture by doing something very simple that nevertheless nobody else is doing. We end rape culture by showing you how wonderful great consensual communicative sex is in the real world. Our social sex videos at Make Love Not Porn role model good sexual values and behavior, and we make all of that aspirational versus what you see in porn and popular culture.
How fantastic. So was there a bit of a light bulb moment? Was there something that happened that you went, hang on, I'm going to do this because no one else is doing it?
No, Make Love Not Porn was a complete and total accident. I never consciously intentionally set out to do anything that I very bizarrely find myself doing now. It came about through my direct personal experience dating younger men. So the men I date tend to be in their 20s. And I should just explain for our listeners that I am somebody who has never, ever wanted to be married. I have never wanted children. Very glad I always knew that, as opposed to finding out the hard way by having them. I adore being single. I cannot wait to die alone. And I date younger men casually and recreationally for sex. And I'm deliberately very public about all of that because we don't have enough role models in our society for women and for men that demonstrate you can live your life very differently to the way that you're expected to and still be very happy. So there I was dating younger men 13, 14 years ago when I began realizing that I was encountering what happens when two things converge. And I stress the dual convergence because most people think it's only one thing. I realized I was experiencing what happens when today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex. When those two things converge, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way. And so I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes in bed. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought, gosh, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. I didn't know that, Jules, because 13, 14 years ago, no one was talking about this. No one was writing about it. This is me as a naturally action-oriented person going, I want to do something about this. So 12 years ago, I put up on no money a tiny clunky website at MakeLoveNotPorn.com that in its original iteration was just words. The construct was porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world. Here's what really happens in the real world. I launched Make Love Not Porn, as you've mentioned, at TED in 2009. I became the only TED speaker to say the words, come on my face, on the TED stage, 6 times in succession. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove this extraordinary global response to my tiny website that I had never anticipated. Thousands of people wrote to me from every country in the world, including Australia, young and old, male and female, straight and gay, pouring their hearts out. And I realized I'd uncovered a huge global social issue. And so I felt I had a personal responsibility to take Make Love Not Porn forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful and effective. But I also saw an opportunity to do what I believe in very strongly, which is that the future of business is doing good and making money simultaneously.
Yes.
I saw the opportunity for a big business solution to this huge untapped need. And I use the word big advisedly, Jules, because even then, 12 years ago at concept stage, I knew if I wanted to counter the global impact of porn as default sex ed, I would have to come up with something that at least had the potential one day to be just as mass, just as mainstream, and just as all-pervasive in our society as porn currently is. So thinking big right from the get-go. And so what I decided to do was, I always emphasize that Make Love Not Porn is not anti-porn because the issue isn't porn. The issue is that we don't talk about sex in the real world. If we did, amongst a whole host of benefits, people would then be able to bring a real-world mindset to the viewing of what is simply performative produced entertainment. And so our tagline at Make Love Not Porn is pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. And our mission is one thing only, which is to help make it easier for everybody in the world to talk openly and honestly about sex. And to do that in two respects, Jules. A, in the public domain. By that I mean parents to children, teachers to schools, everyone to everyone. But B, and even more importantly, to talk about sex openly and honestly, privately, in your intimate relationships. And the reason that's so key is because we don't talk about sex, it is an area of rampant insecurity for every single one of us. We all get vulnerable when we get naked. Sexual egos are very fragile. People therefore find it bizarrely difficult to talk about sex with the people they're actually having it with while they're actually having it. Because in that situation, you are terrified that if you say anything at all about what's going on, if you comment on the action any way at all, you will potentially hurt the other person's feelings, you will put them off you, you will derail the encounter, you will potentially derail the entire relationship, but at the same time, you want to please your partner. You want to make them happy. Everybody wants to be good in bed. Nobody knows exactly what that means. And so you will seize your cues on how to do that from any way you can. And if the only cues you've ever seen are in porn, because your parents didn't talk to you about sex, because your school didn't teach you, because your friends aren't honest, those are the cues you're going to take to not very good effect. And so, given this mission to talk about it, I decided very simply to take every dynamic in social media and apply them to this one area no other social network platform will go in order to socialize sex and to make real-world sex and talking about it socially acceptable and therefore ultimately just as socially shareable as anything else on Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram. So 9 years ago, my tiny team and I launched the first stage of this vision. I have a whole roadmap for the future, but I need funding to achieve it. But the first stage is MakeLoveNotPorn.tv, which is an entirely user-generated, crowdsourced video sharing platform that celebrates real-world sex. So anybody from anywhere in the world can submit to us videos of themselves having real-world sex, but we are very clear what we mean by this. We are not porn. We are not amateur. We are building a whole new category on the internet that never existed before, social sex. So our competition isn't porn, it's Facebook and YouTube, or rather it would be if they allowed you to socially, sexually self-express. And so social sex videos on Make Love Not Porn are not about performing for the camera. They're just about doing what we all already do on every other social platform in every other area of life, which is capture what goes on spontaneously in the real world as it happens, in all its funny, messy, glorious, comical, beautiful, awkward, wonderful humanness. We curate to make sure of that. I designed to Make Love Not Porn around human curation. Very important. There is no self-publishing. Our curators watch every single video submitted from beginning to end before we approve and publish it. And we have a revenue-sharing business model. Our members pay to subscribe, rent, and stream social sex videos. Half the income goes to our contributors, whom we call our Make Love Not Porn stars.
Wow, you are incredible, because you're right. That is such a problem that needs to be addressed. And so what sort of, who's your customer base? No, that's not what I want to know. Are you getting mum and dads and normal people who are just doing those videos and sending them to you?
No, absolutely. So basically, Jules, the vast majority of our Make Love Not Porn stars had never ever filmed themselves doing anything sexual before ever. They're doing it for us
Wow.
because they believe in our social mission. By the
Yes.
way, Australia is our third highest source of traffic after the
Oh,
US and the UK.
wow.
Okay, and we have
That is
Australian Make Love
amazing.
Not Porn stars, and
Yeah.
here's the interesting thing, Jules, because um, you know, our Make Love Not Porn stars tell us that socially sharing their real world sex has been as transformative for them and their relationships
Yeah, I bet.
as socially sharing everything else has been for the world at large. So we have many solo masturbation videos, men,
Right.
women, trans, non-binary, Make Love Not Porn stars who have, many for the first time ever, decided to share this incredibly intimate act, video it, share it,
Yeah.
for complete strangers to watch. They tell us that doing that actually made them love themselves more. It enhanced their
Oh.
sexual sense of self, their sexual self-esteem. And by the way,
Mm.
the comments are enormously affirming because our
Well, I was
members are
going to
so
say,
respectful and so
yeah.
appreciative of this. And then couples tell us that doing this transformed their relationship because when you
Wow.
decide to film yourselves having sex, you have to talk about it. And when you talk about it,
Yes.
doesn't matter how long you've been together, the conversation goes places it's never ever gone before. Couples write to us and say, we thought we were open, but doing this just took our relationship to a whole new level.
How amazing. But so you're doing all this social good. It's fantastic. And I was interested to know, because I haven't been on the site, if people like with social media make comments, but from what you're saying, it sounds like they do.
No, they absolutely do. But again, here's the thing, Jules.
Respectfully. Yeah.
Make Love Not Porn is the safest place on the internet because we curate everything. So,
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, our curators watch every single video submitted from beginning to end to approve it. Our
Right.
curators review every post on every member's profile before we approve and
Oh,
publish it.
wow.
Nobody else does any of this.
Okay.
And we review
Yep.
every single comment on every single video before we
Wow.
approve and publish it. And by the way, we built Make Love Not Porn to be a safe space. And so I can tell you, we hardly ever have to censor any comments. But that is
How
why,
amazing.
we can vouch for every single piece of content on our platform. And that is why Make Love Not Porn is a place where you will find nothing but love. We celebrate nothing but love. We showcase nothing but love. We are all about love.
How fabulous. You are amazing. So now, and that is absolutely incredible, but now talk to me about We Ran the World. What's that about and how did that come about?
Sure. So If We Ran the World is a startup that I was working on when Make Love Not
Yeah.
Porn blew up. And even I,
Right.
superhuman as I am, cannot run two startups simultaneously. And so I had to back
Right.
burner If We Ran the World. But
Yeah.
I actually designed Make Love Not Porn around what If We Ran the World is meant to do. So If We
Okay.
Ran the World came out of my belief, as I mentioned earlier, that the future is doing good and making money simultaneously. And
Yeah.
so I believe the business model of the future is shared values plus shared action equals shared profit, financial profit
Yep.
and social profit. And what I mean by that is when brands and businesses come together with their audiences, when I say audiences, I mean consumers, employees, analysts, whoever your stakeholders may
Fans.
be.
Yep.
When you come together with your audiences around values that you all share, which, by the way,
Yeah.
is the most important requirement for a good relationship in life as much as business. You will never truly
Yep.
bond with someone who don't share the same values. So when you
Hmm.
come together around shared values, and when you're then enabled collectively and collaboratively to co-act on those values, you can then make things happen in the real world that will benefit consumers, benefit society, and benefit the brand and its business. If We Ran the World is co-action software that helps companies integrate that business model. And while I had to park
Okay.
it for the time being, I designed Make Love Not Porn around precisely that business model. Shared values plus
Right.
shared action equals shared profit.
Amazing. So why did you set up We Run the World? Because obviously you were doing that before, as you said, Make Love Not Porn
Yeah.
started. What was the impetus that got you thinking that you'd start We Run the World?
Believing that the future needs to be about doing good and making money simultaneously.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. I love your values. I love everything that you're doing. Now I'm very interested to know how you got to where you are today. So can we go back, I don't know, to maybe when you were in high school, and then explain to me how your career has evolved since then? Because you've done a very wiggly path that's been really interesting.
Sure. So my background is I'm half English, half Chinese. I was
Yes.
born in the UK, but when I was 6, my parents moved to Brunei in Borneo. So I grew up in Brunei.
Right.
And I went to Oxford to read English and fell madly in love with theatre at Oxford, and therefore became a theatre marketing and publicity officer at various theatres in the UK for several
Never
years.
never tempted to become an actress or work in production in that field?
No, I mean, I absolutely, at Oxford I did everything. I acted, directed, stage managed, wrote, but I
Okay.
knew I wasn't good enough to be an actress or
Right.
director. Um, and so, and so there I was marketing theatre until I got completely fed up with working 24/7 and earning chicken feed, which is what theatre involves.
Yes,
And
yes.
and at the time that I was starting to rethink this career path, I was the marketing officer at the Everyman Theatre in Liverpool. And part of my job promoting the theatre was giving talks to groups
Yeah.
about the theatre. So I gave a
Hmm.
talk to a group of women in Liverpool, and after it, one of them came up to me and she said, "Young lady, you could sell a fridge to an Eskimo." I thought, that is the universe telling me something, time to sell out, go into advertising. And so I did. And so,
Right.
I, began working in advertising agencies in London and
Yep.
never looked back, really.
So why did you move to America? When was that? When did that happen?
Sure. I basically moved to New York in 1998 to start up the
Right.
American office of the ad agency I used to work for, Bartle Bogle Hegarty, BBH.
Ah, okay. So that's that connection. And then how long were you in advertising for?
Well, in total, I mean, I still, do consulting and advertising and so on.
Okay.
I went
Right.
into advertising in London in 1985.
Right. Okay. And then at what stage was it that you started with We Run the World? When did you decide to get out of advertising?
Well,
Well,
again,
not out of advertising,
yeah,
starting another business. Yeah.
right. Again, everything in my life and career has happened by accident. I've never consciously planned anything. And
Right.
so, the way I left the corporate world was I turned 45 back in 2005, and I had my
Yep.
very own personal midlife crisis in the sense that I'd always thought of 45 as a midlife point. Obviously, by the way, the
Yeah.
happy assumption one lives to be 90, fingers crossed. But in a
Yes.
couple of years running up to it, I'd always thought on one's 45th birthday is the moment when you should pause, take stock, reflect and review, where have I been, where am I going? So on February
Yep.
1, 2005, I duly did that. And that was the point at which I went, oh my God, I've just worked 16 years for the same advertising agency. And by the way, wonderful
Time for
agency,
change.
BBH, love them
Yeah.
to death, cannot say enough nice things about them. But I went, wow, maybe it's time to do something different. And then,
Yeah.
the issue there was that I hadn't the faintest idea what. So vast amounts of thought and angsting ensued. And eventually I went, if I want to review every possible option open to me for what is effectively the second half of my life, maybe the
Yeah.
best thing to do is to put myself in the market very publicly and go, okay, guys, here I am. What do you got? And see what happens. See what
Oh, I
comes.
love that. I
So I
love
took a
that.
massive leap into the unknown. I resigned as chairman of BBH New York in the summer of 2005 without a job to go to. And honestly, it was the best move I ever made with my life. Because
Yep.
I am now evangelical about working for yourself. It's the only way
Yes,
to
so
be.
am I.
Yeah.
So am I.
Because,
Yep.
Jules, too many people make the mistake of thinking that a job is the safe option. It's
That's
not.
right.
Because
No.
in a job, you are at the complete mercy of management changes, industry
Yep.
downturns, marketplace dynamics. I say to people, whose hands would you rather place your future in? Those of a large corporate entity who at the end of the day doesn't give a shit about you, or somebody who will always have your best interests at heart, i.e.
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like that. I mean, I don't know whether it's because in my own little microcosm surrounded by female founders, but I really feel like that is changing. It started in the sort of early 2000s when women started having babies and going, I can't work in an agency. I mean, which was me. I can't work in an agency and put in agency hours with kids. So what am I going to do? I'll start my own business. But I also think now that with ageism that's happening everywhere in the workforce, people are being kicked out of jobs and then it's almost impossible to get back into a senior position. It's time for people to start taking control back themselves.
No, absolutely. And in fact, I'm regularly asked in interviews, if I have any regrets, and I have absolutely none. But, the one thing I wish I'd done was I wish I'd started working myself a damn sight sooner.
Yeah, and that is a point I think that people get to, and for me it happened at about 22, but it does happen at some stage. I think that people, or I hope, a lot of people start thinking, hang on, it's time for me to be my own boss and give myself the hours I want and the clients I want and all that kind of thing. So now I just saw a talk that you were doing recently when you were naming names about agencies, which I absolutely friggin' love. You're so amazing. Where you were talking about, don't go to this agency that is run by men where they're making and they're treating their staff really badly. Go to this one where
really?
they are looking after their staff.
What talk was that? I don't. It doesn't ring a bell.
God, now you're putting me on the spot. It was something that I saw on LinkedIn.
Madam Jules, I ask it only because I would not say that. I would not. I mean, I would say I absolutely encourage women to go to agencies that are run by women. But I'm not aware that I've named any agencies where I've said do not go and work there and go and work somewhere else instead. No, you're quite right.
Okay, so yes, I think you were naming the ones to go to rather the ones not to go to. I probably have exaggerated that. But I love that you're doing that kind of thing. Now, talk to me about your feminism, because it's something that you're such a firecracker and you're obviously such a huge advocate for women. Where did this all come from and where do you want to take it?
It's very simple, Jules. All I'm doing is I'm living and working my values.
Right.
I think it's important for people to think about what they want to do in that context, because my startups are built around my own beliefs and philosophies, one of which is that everything in life starts with you and your values. And what I really encourage people to do, if they've never done this before, and most people haven't, is take a long, hard look into yourself and ask yourself, what do I believe in? What do I value? What do I stand for? What am I all about? Because when you do that, it makes life so much easier. Life still throws you all the shit it always will, but you know exactly how to respond to it in any given situation in the way that is true to you. And that is really the secret of happiness in life and in work. Living your life and working your work in a way that is true to you. And so all I'm doing is I'm being myself and I'm living my values. That's all.
It's fantastic. I have to say, I feel like I've come late to the party in some ways, but I'm 54. When I was around 52 and with COVID, something snapped inside me and I went, I don't care what anyone says about me anymore either. I'm going to go down this route, helping women and trying to make them visible. And it's really weird that when you're exactly right, when you go down that route and you say, I don't mind now what anyone else says, I am ready to stand in this, in this position and anyone can throw anything at me. I'm not going to change my mind. It's very empowering and it's very positive and you are able to make that difference, I think. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Cindy, thank you so much for sharing your story with me today and for telling us about the incredible things that you're doing. If anyone wants to get if anybody wanted to get to Make Love Not Porn or to follow We Run the World, what are the website addresses for them and how can they get involved?
Sure. So to our listeners, if you enjoyed what we've talked about, then I would love you to support my startup. So please go to MakeLoveNotPorn.tv. Please take out a subscription. They start at $10 a month. They're eminently affordable. Okay. Please consider becoming a Make Love Not Porn star. We want you to make Aussie love not porn. If you want to represent for Australia on Make Love Not Porn. And you can follow me on Twitter at Cindy Gallop and at Make Love Not Porn. Same on Instagram at Cindy Gallop at Make Love Not Porn. You can find me on Facebook, Cindy.Gallop, and our Facebook page is MLNPTV. And you can find me and follow me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much. You are such an inspiration. I'm on a mission now to start a TV network for women in business around the world, and I'm very inspired by what you're doing. My little startup's going to do the same thing, I hope. So thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Jules. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you.